Today's r/am I the a-hole Reddit stories are both about controlling stepfathers. One treats his stepdaughter like a servant, and the other has some issues with his stepson's revealing clothing. Now let's get into this. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband my daughter doesn't have to accommodate his needs? My daughter is a second year in college, and although she lives in the dorms, during finals she comes home to learn quietly. My husband, not her biological dad, has changed jobs and works full-time from home now. I go to work from the office every day, so they're in the house by themselves. They've always gotten along fairly good. There's respect, understanding, and trust from each other's part. I don't know if there's love, but I can't push it. Husband met daughter too late to represent a father figure for her, and she never seeked him like that, so he didn't push it. Lately, my daughter complained that husband would put her to work in disregard of the fact that she's learning. She would stay in her room to study, and at some point husband would knock saying, "Hey, just had lunch. Could you please clean up the table? I'm starting a meeting." Or, "I spilled some water. Mind wiping it? I gotta focus on work." She told me she feels he doesn't care about her learning time and he doesn't acknowledge she is also working. She told me she wouldn't have minded if it was a one-time occurrence, but it has become a habit of his. To make sure of it, I asked daughter to not clean up next time he asks. I caught him red-handed this time. When I came home to the dirty table, I asked husband about it and he said, "Well, daughter should have cleaned it up." Daughter said she didn't even have lunch today. They don't always eat together. Sometimes one is hungry and one is not, and she didn't have time to clean up the table. I jumped at my husband, telling him daughter has exams and came here to learn, not to clean up after him. He tried to defend himself, saying he had an urgent meeting. I told him he could have came to clean up afterwards and mentioned I know it's not the first time it's happening. My husband sighed and said he thought it's not a big deal for my daughter to spare a couple minutes to quickly put the dishes in the dishwasher or something like that. Daughter said that if he thinks it could be done so quickly, why didn't he do it? I had to break the argument and determine that everyone cleaned up after themselves. Later, my husband told me in private that he felt like I humiliated him in front of my daughter. I told him to grow up and stop acting like daughter will pick up after his mess. He got upset. Am I the a-hole? Here's my take on it. OP, you are not the asshole. Your husband is being very sexist and entitled. Why should your daughter clean up his mess? That's crazy. He thinks he's like the king of the house and he's trying to assert his power over her. All this at an already stressful time in her life. He's incredibly selfish and inconsiderate. It's not like he prepared dinner for both of them and asked her to do the cleanup. That's usually what we do in my household. He is just making his own mess and demanding she clean it like she's some kind of personal maid. I have important meetings and 3 kids to feed myself, and guess who cleans up my messes? Me, you clown. So YouTube, what are your thoughts on this one? Leave your comments below. And on to our next story. Am I the asshole for calling out my wife's adult son to stop wearing crazy, revealing clothes in front of my family? I'm writing this for me and my family. Me, a 38-year-old male, and my wife Alice, 37-year-old female, have been together for 7 years. We have a couple of twins, both 6 years old, male, and we're a very happy family. My wife also has a son, Luke, who is 19. He got an athletic college scholarship, but he dropped out and he's currently pursuing a career as a musician in another city. He stays in our home whenever he visits for holidays or vacations. Luke's very tall, so it is difficult for him to go unnoticed. When I say revealing clothes, I mean that he wears thigh shorts so tight you can see his boxers, crop tops, women's blouses. I mean, it is very distracting as his pubes and trail are very visible. One time, I caught him wearing a skirt while watching TV in our living room. I gave him a disapproving look and all he said to me was, "Man, you know we're Irish, don't you?" Which is a crazy thing to say, and I think kilts are from Scotland anyways, but that's not the point. In another instance, he would sit for dinner with a pearl necklace, eyeshadow, and a fur coat. For example, my mother and sisters and their kids visited us for Christmas, and they agreed that it was odd to have a guy dressing like that around the house, especially in front of so many women. A few weeks ago, after Christmas's dinner, I talked to Luke and voiced my concerns, and he was like, "Okay, Cap, no problem," and "Okay, sir, yes, sir, copy that, sir," clearly mocking me. I must admit I got angry and I yelled at him. I went to vent out my frustration with my wife. However, she didn't back me up or take me seriously, even when I raised my concerns about our boy seeing his older brother acting a fool. I checked her phone and she was texting with Luke, Again, just joking and making fun of me. Luke texted her something like, "Not your husband body shaming me, lol. I didn't get the Hugo Boss dress code memo." And my wife replied, "Follow the dress code, young man, or you'll be executed at midnight. I don't make the rules, babe. I'm sorry." I got so mad I gave both of them the silent treatment for the rest of the holidays. Alice tried to talk me down by saying that he's not wearing anything around the house he wouldn't be wearing in public, so our boys would be seeing that style sooner or later whether we liked it or not. She was condescending, like she was talking to an angry old man from another century. I don't know. I don't feel like I was asking something unreasonable, and I felt they were bullying me for expressing a reasonable concern about what my twins and my family are seeing in their own home. Our home, my home. And at the end of the day, it is my house, my rules too. Am I the asshole? Well, OP, looking at the comments, it looks like you are overwhelmingly the asshole. So I'm going to read some of the top comments right now. You are the asshole. We know that because you said this was about him dressing revealingly, but you still had a problem when he was covered up at Christmas dinner. When a pearl necklace is totally appropriate, I might add. Your problem is not that it's revealing, but that it's gender non-conforming. Another user replies, "Exactly. I was possibly willing to side with OP when he talked about pubes and trail, but whether his shirt is a women's blouse is irrelevant, and a fur coat is definitely not revealing. You're the asshole, OP, unless pearl necklace means something else in this context." Ew. Another user replies, "Completely agree. When OP talked about shorts that are super small and tight and pubes popping out, I was ready to be understanding about asking stepson to cover up a little. I can wear whatever I want in my own home, but when my roommates and or friends are around, I don't wear booty shorts with my cheeks and bush hanging out." But then OP had to make a stink about skirts, coats, and blouses that do cover up your naughty bits, and he lost me. You're not the asshole for asking someone to cover up and not show their short and curlies. You're the asshole for being stuck up about gendered clothing. Maybe tell your wife about the revealing clothes and let her talk to her son about that part. But leave out the outdated gender BS as it masks any credibility your concerns have. Another top comment reads, "You are the asshole. You are an angry old man. Luckily, Luke sounds like he has a great relationship with his mom. Plus, your my house, my rules is BS. It's also your wife's house, so why doesn't she have a say in the rules?" Another user replies, "They mocked him in a private conversation that he effing snooped to discover. Let me get this straight, OP. You invaded your wife's and her son's privacy by looking through their personal conversation, got butthurt by what you read, and then proceeded to give them the silent treatment because of the content of personal conversation you were neither invited to participate in nor had any business reading. You are also concerned that your younger sons may discover that humans can actually wear whatever clothes they want, and that adult humans grow hair on their bodies. Also, you had a problem with stepson dressing fancy for Christmas dinner? I'm failing to see how any of this is actually anyone's problem but OP's, and yet he's trying to police others because he's got some hang-ups. You're the asshole. P.S. Stepson sounds fucking cool as hell, and his mom is even cooler." Another top comment reads, in quotes, "It was odd to have a guy dressing like that around the house. I must admit I got angry and I yelled at him. I went to vent out my frustration with my wife. I got so mad I gave both of them the silent treatment for the rest of the holidays. Aren't you exhausted from trying to control people? How about you accept them for who they are and let them manage the consequences on their own?" Quoting OP, "She was condescending like she was talking to an angry old man from another century. That's what you're acting like. All you need to do is not impose your values on someone else who grew up in a completely different way than you did and is living his life in a completely different way than you ever would. That does not mean your way is superior. You're the asshole, and I wonder why on earth your wife puts up with you. Try listening someday. You might actually become happier." So I totally agree with these top comments. OP is a fragile bully, and he's trying to make himself look like the victim for sympathy. What an asshole. So YouTube, what are your thoughts on this one? Leave your comments below, and if you're enjoying these stories from Reddit, please give us a like and subscribe.